Hold on. I gotta break this down like a school teacher. I come from a line of school teachers, so it's in my blood. Hold on. I gotta break this down because you guys are not getting this. So let me show you why Africa is difficult to travel. Hold on. I've gotta fly back to South Africa, then fly to Namibia. There's no direct, a lot of these countries, there's no direct flight into them. So for a lot of these countries I have to get to up here, they keep rerouting me back to South Africa. So all these countries I'm gonna be doing, boom, back to South Africa, Namibia, back to South Africa, Angola, back to South Africa, Mozambique, back to South Africa, Malawi, back to South Africa, Congo. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I wanted to talk about, it's better. I wanted to talk about traveling Africa because now I've gotten a good feel for it. I've been to 10 African countries so far. Stay tuned. We're visiting every single country in Africa, so make sure you're subscribed because I'm gonna keep going until we're finished literally every single African country. We've conquered 10 in total, and there are 54. But I've traveled a lot enough for me to feel comfortable telling you guys about the costs because, oh my freaking goodness, I've been to officially 133 countries. I've been traveling the world for 7 years, and Africa might be up there with one of the most expensive continents to travel, like as a foreigner, you know? So yeah, I just want to break down costs. I know a lot of you guys want to come to Africa, so I just want to tell you guys how much everything is, what to expect, because oh my gosh, is it expensive. Whoa. So I just want to break down costs for you guys who are interested, give you my recommendations and everything. So yeah, before we get into the video, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Maryjane_travels, and make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you have your notifications on, and tell me in the comments. I always like to ask a question for you guys to answer in the comments, so I can like get to know you guys or just know more about you guys. Where you can hear the bamboos. I'm always calling bamboos. The baboons are jumping on the roof. Anyways, yeah, in the comments, please let me know where in Africa, if you haven't been here, are you really excited to travel? Which country? And then I'll tell you my favorite country so far. Another thing I need to do is mention my supporters because you guys are making this goal possible. So I have a goal to finish in 2025. But I just saw another guy on Instagram, by the way, who's about to visit every country in the world. I'm so happy for him. He has just visited his 190th country, so he only has 5 countries left or something, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, whoa, it was so encouraging seeing him to finish this goal this year. We're gonna do it. But it is expensive. It's very expensive, and I have 62 countries to visit. No, you guys, I'm so used to saying 62 countries. It just came out. We have 60 countries left because there's 2 countries that keep changing. Kosovo, I've been, but it decides it wants to be a country one week, the next week it's a country, not a country. One week it's a country, the next week it's not a country. So I just say 193, whatever. If Kosovo decides it wants to be a country, then I have 193 countries to visit, and I've been to 133. Hold on, there's a lot of numbers going on. Sorry. So anyways, yeah, so I have 60 if Kosovo wants to be a country. I have 61 countries to visit left this year, and 40, I'm sorry, there's so many numbers. Sorry. The majority of the year, finishing the entire continent. I have been to, so far, Morocco, I've been to Egypt, I've been to Tunisia, I've been to Kenya, I've been to Tanzania, I've been to South Africa, I've been to Botswana, I've been to Zimbabwe, oh yeah, tomorrow we're going there, so I can't say I've been there yet. I've been to Uganda, but I am going to go back because I didn't see the gorillas. So stay tuned. I'm going to be returning to Uganda because I need to see the gorillas. And I've been to Ethiopia. And I was in Eritrea, but only for one day. So we're gonna revisit Eritrea too. And we're visiting every country in the world. We're moving on with this challenge. I'm literally doing nothing besides traveling to every single country in the world this year, and it is so expensive. So I started a GoFundMe for those of you who can and would be willing to help me with this goal that is going to cost me around $500,000 to finish. So I started a GoFundMe for help, and angels have come to help me. And I must say thank you. I'm going to quickly run through names because I need to thank you guys so much. Kimberly, thank you so much. Bobby, Janayan, K-A-E is K, right? K, thank you so much. Kathleen, Brian, Lindsay, Dawn, Cheryl, Sally, Nia, Paula, Yuka, Porsche, Lima, Maddie, Rita, Alyssa, Kimberly, Robin, Sandra, Carol, Dawn, Brian, Phyllis, Belinda, Shondana, Lauren, Denise. Thank you guys so. I didn't say last names for the sake of time. Those are my recent donators. I think officially 120 people have donated to my GoFundMe, and every single 120 of you guys, thank you. You are literal angels that God sent to me. Thank you so much. And if you can donate, please do. Please. If you can. I know not everybody can. The price you'd spend on a coffee even helps. And if you would like a postcard, then just put in, when you donate, you can leave me a message. Just put, MJ, I'd like a postcard, and I'll reach out to you, ask you to where I just picked these up today. I'm still in Zimbabwe. Tomorrow I leave to my next country, and it's all happening because of you guys. So if you can donate, please do. I'll put the link to my GoFundMe down below. Again, anything you spend on a coffee or anything like that helps, because power in numbers. And if you can donate more, I gladly appreciate it. Your girl needs help. So anyways, we're talking about Africa and how much it costs. Now, there's always those people, oh gosh, this dude left me this comment the other day, and I don't know who this dude is. He was like so offended that I refer to Africa as Africa. But I'm literally talking about Africa. What are you talking about? I forget what I was saying, but I said Africa, and for some reason it rubbed him the wrong way. I don't know how the word Africa is offensive, but when I say Africa, that's what I mean. There's 54 countries here, so there's a lot going on of so many different cultures, so many different people. But I am going to say Africa because that's what I mean, So obviously I can't speak for the whole country, but I've been to enough, the whole continent, but I've been to enough to know the gist. And let me just tell you, it is so ridiculously expensive. The only way Africa is not expensive is if you're not traveling it. Like, say you're from here and you're going home to visit your family, then no, it's not expensive. But if you are a tourist, it is expensive. It is insane. Whoa. And the reason for that is because a lot of these countries are really poor. Put aside South Africa. South Africa is a very wealthy country, but it's still expensive. Really expensive. But let's talk about Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, all these countries. They're very, 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 very expensive. I'm talking, you're going to spend maybe the same price or more than you'd spend in Europe. I've been to Europe. I've been to every single country in Europe. I started traveling Europe when I first became a traveler, when I first started this goal of visiting every country in the world. And you can budget Europe. Like Europe, you can do a budget Europe thing. You know what I'm saying? You could be like, let's get a cheap hotel. Let's budget our food. You know what I mean? You can figure it out. You can backpack. You can stay in hostels or guest house, or you can even find even in Paris, you can find cheap hotels and cheap food and cheap free things to do. Yeah, I know tons of people. It's like Europe is like the backpacking along with Asia. you know. And I think a lot of people get mad when people don't travel Africa as much as they do the other places in the world like Asia and Europe. But honestly, it's because those places are so easy and so cheap to travel. Like I always say, people will ask me these blanket questions like, how much does it cost to do this? And there's really no blanket answer because everyone's different. Everyone travels different. Where are you eating? How much are you shopping? How much do you want to do? What kind of activities are you doing? You know what I'm saying? That all depends on how much you're spending somewhere. You know what I mean? But there's still an overall sense of when you're somewhere that's cheap and when you're somewhere that's expensive. And there's nothing cheap about Africa, especially these countries. Like, let me talk about Zimbabwe. I'm in Zimbabwe right now. It's not cheap at all, even though the country is super poor. The average person is super poor. When you're walking down the street, most people are going to ask you for money. Those baboons. Most people are asking for money. It's very poor. If you look at a house, it's very run down, and there's lots of people that live in one house. And I'm talking majority. I'm not talking everyone. I'm talking majority. And so what happens is the reason that places like Zimbabwe become so expensive is because they know that people come here for tourism. And so the whole tourism scene in the country, they're not making it cheap. You know what I'm saying? They're like, no, we're not going to make anything cheap because we need money, you know? So Zimbabwe, for example, the cheapest place. Okay, let's talk about where I'm staying right now, because by the time I post this video, I'll be gone. This is a lodge. You can either stay in lodges or you can stay in, well, actually, in Zimbabwe and in Zambia, you're probably going to be staying in a lodge. I'm staying in a lodge. This place is $150 a night. And I feel like this kind of place, you know, just a super basic room like this, anywhere else would be $30 a night. If I stayed in a place like this in Japan or China or even Vietnam or Thailand, this room would cost me maybe $25-$30 a night. Same thing, you know, same amenities, everything. But here in Zimbabwe and these countries I'm in right now, this is $150 a night. And it's like, this is like the cheapest place. Like, there's nothing really cheaper unless you go the hostel route. There are hostels, but you guys, I had to quit hostels. I used to do hostels all the time. I had to quit because I was getting bed bugs too much. Like, at like the 5th or 6th time I got bed bugs or fleas, I quit the hostel scene. I can't, like, you guys, I can't do it anymore. I did it for years. And you know what? It was when I first started my YouTube channel. I would do the hostel thing, you know, where they're bunk beds in a room with a bunch of people. Like, I can't do it anymore. I can't. And then, like, you have to wait. There's like 10 people in a room and one shower. You have to wait for one person to shower. I just couldn't do it anymore. So you can go the guest house. Sometimes they're called guest house and hostel route. And maybe that would cost you $25, $30, $40 a night. But like, I can't do that anymore. After like the 6th or 7th time that I got bed bugs, I'm like, can't do it anymore. Can't do it anymore. But anyways, yeah, you're going to be spending about $150 a night. That's also what I was paying in Johannesburg. For like a similar room in Johannesburg. In South Africa is expensive. South Africa ain't cheap. No. None of these African countries are really cheap. So anyways, I can do a more in-depth video breaking down cities, but I'm going to tell you for the most part, you're going to be spending, and then, okay, let me talk about excursions. So that's the other thing you're going to be doing when you come to Africa. Most people want to be going on safaris, right? They are so expensive. The average safari is going to cost you $200 a person, and that usually includes lunch, right? So the average safari, they'll pick you up from your hotel early in the morning. They'll drive you to the game drive or to the safari. You'll usually have lunch. Boom, boom, boom. It's usually buffet style. And then that's the average safari. They'll drop you back off at your hotel. That whole thing is $200 a person. That's like the median price. Now, if you go to a really good park, what do I mean by really good? If you go to a game drive or you go to a safari game drive, or if you go to a safari that has the big five, elephants, lions, zebras. Hold on, what are the big five? I'm blanking. Lions, elephants, giraffes, rhinos, and zebras, right? That's the big five. I'm forgetting what the big five are. But if you want to go to a park that has all five of those, you're going to be paying maybe upwards of $350 to $400 for one safari. And what I mean by that is they pick you up in the morning from your hotel, they drive you to the game drive, you get lunch included, and they drop you back off at your hotel. That is $300 to $400 a person. If you go to less of a big one, it's going to cost you around $200, right? Okay, because there's a bunch. When you come to Africa, that's what everybody's doing. They're all doing safaris, and the big ones where you see all the amazing animals, it's going to cost you about $400 a person. Now, food is relatively cheap. If you go to a restaurant, if you go to a cafe or restaurant, you might be paying $25 for a drink, meal, and dessert all together. So yeah, that food isn't super expensive, and most hotels have like a restaurant, and it's going to be the same price. Here, the restaurant here at this hotel, they just, you order online, or you order, everyone has WhatsApp, so that's how I order my food at this place. I WhatsApp them, hey, this is what I want for dinner. After they give me a selection, they bring it to me. That's about $25 a day, dinner or lunch. Each meal is about $25 a day, including the drink. So yeah, and flights. Let's talk about flights. So the thing about Africa that really makes it hard to travel is, so let's talk about Asia, for example. There's a lot of countries in Asia. You can just get a cheap little flight to the next one. If you're in Japan, you can get a cheap flight to South Korea. It's right there, boom. 2 hours flight, maybe $100, maybe $60. The flight might be $60. You want to go to Thailand, it's more further away, but you might be paying $200. That's why Asia is so easy to travel. You can keep going to the next country cheap. Asia is so cheap, you guys, to travel. So cheap. All right, so let's talk about Europe. Let's say I'm in France, I want to go to Italy. I can literally get a train or a bus to Italy, cheap. Let's talk about, I want to go to Italy, then I want to go, I don't know. That's what I did when I was traveling Europe. I kept getting a bus to the next country. They have all these bus services. A lot of people use them. I go from France to the Netherlands, to Belgium, to Denmark. Denmark is, a little bit up. But, I would go to Finland, and then I'd go to Sweden on a bus. All these places you can get a bus. You can get a bus to Croatia, bus to Slovenia, bus to Slovakia, bus to Croatia, bus. You can bus the whole freaking country, $20 a bus. Going from country to country to country. Africa, no. That's one thing that that makes it difficult to travel Africa. There's so many countries so close to each other, right? But you basically have to fly to each one. Now, there are options to take a bus or train, but it's usually not a good thing. So, for example, let me tell you. So, I was in South Africa and I wanted to come to Zimbabwe, right? So, there are shuttle services that will take you from city to city. So, I found out it was a 6-hour drive from Zimbabwe to Victoria Falls. I think 6 to 9 hours, somewhere between there. That was going to cost me to drive $500. That's the cheapest thing I got quoted. Other people quoted me like $800 to drive, like a private shuttle service from South Africa to Zimbabwe. And that's like basic. Same with Lesotho. People got so mad at me when I called it Lesotho. Lesotho, the country, is like 3 hours away. It's inside South Africa. It's like 3 hours from Johannesburg. But the cheapest price I got quoted to have a car drive me was about $500. So the cheapest thing you can do is fly, because you're going to be charged so much money, upwards of $400, $500, just to get to these next countries, right? Even if you get somebody to drive you. Another option is you could rent a car yourself and drive, but I'm not doing that. I'm a solo female traveler. I don't want to be caught on the road in the middle of the night somewhere and then, you know what I'm saying? No, that's one thing I'm not doing. But it is an option if certain people want to drive between these countries. You could rent a car and do that if you felt like it. So the cheapest thing you can do is fly in between these countries. Stay with me. I'm going to tell you why. I have to break this down. I have to give you guys, hold on. I gotta break this down like a school teacher. I come from a line of school teachers, so it's in my blood. Hold on. I gotta break this down because you guys are not getting this. So let me show you why Africa is difficult to travel. Hold on. All right, so I have a map right now, and I'm going to show you Africa. All right, so here we have Africa. Okay, so here we have the continent of Africa. And you've got all these countries, right? Here's the thing. You can't just go from, oh, I'll get a bus here, and then 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 I'll get a bus here. And then I'll get a bus here, and then I'll get a bus here, and then 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 here. That's what you can do in Europe. You can do that in Europe. You can't do it in Africa. No. You must fly from here to here to here. But the thing is, they're always going to reroute you back to a big city. So for example, let me show you what I have to do next week. Next week, I will be in, hold on, Zambia. Hold on, I'm sorry. Next week, I'll be in Zambia, right? I've got to fly back to South Africa, then fly to Namibia. There's no direct, a lot of these countries, there's no direct flight into them. So for a lot of these countries I have to get to up here, they keep rerouting me back to South Africa. So I'll be in Zambia. I got to go back to South Africa just to get to Namibia. Then from Namibia, I got to go back to South Africa to get to Mozambique. Then from Mozambique, I got to fly back to South Africa to get to Angola. Then from Angola, I have to fly back to South Africa to get to Malawi. From Malawi, I have to fly back to South Africa to get to the Congo. I'll go to the Congo next. From the Congo, I have to fly back to South Africa to get to Gabon. That is what makes Africa so difficult to travel, and these flights ain't cheap. Because it's not like all these countries have airlines to get you to the next country. You've got to fly back to a major city to go to the next country. Usually it's going to be Johannesburg Airport, which is like right here. You know what I'm saying? So all these countries I'm going to be doing, boom, back to South Africa, Namibia, back to South Africa, Angola, back to South Africa, Mozambique, back to South Africa, Malawi, back to South Africa, Congo, back to South Africa, Gabon, back to South Africa, Mozambique, Madagascar, back to South Africa. You get what I'm saying? Because that is the biggest and most official airport, and you can't just go in between these countries like that, right? That's one reason that makes Africa so difficult to travel as a whole when you're really trying to cover a lot of Africa. Because now, are there buses that do exist? Yes, there are buses that do exist that go in between these countries, but they're not very reliable and they take hours. And I mean hours, because they're usually making a lot of stops. And some of the buses, they're not as reliable, I was told, and it's not as safe. And sometimes they just don't show up. You'll be sitting there like, where's the bus? And it just like won't be there for several hours. And so when I asked a lot of people advised me, don't bus in between these countries. Like there's a bus like Intercape and Greyhound, but they're just not super reliable, and you can't take them like between countries. Like I can't just take a bus from Namibia to Angola. I've got to go back to South Africa and go to Angola. You get what I'm saying? So and these flights aren't cheap. The cheapest flight, like even if, for example, when I flew from South Africa to Zimbabwe, it was only 1 hour flight. It cost me $250. And for example, I'm going from Zambia to Namibia. The flight is 1 hour. The flight cost me $500. So yeah, someone's going to walk past and it's going to be super awkward. So Africa alone, for me to finish the entire continent, is gonna cost me somewhere around $100,000 just to finish the continent of Africa, maybe more. But we're gonna do it. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. We knew this wasn't gonna be cheap. There's people looking at me from outside the window. Okay, anyways, we knew it wasn't gonna be cheap. We knew it wasn't gonna be cheap. We're not complaining. We're gonna do this. Don't worry. Donate to make a fund me if you can. If you can donate, help me. Okay, anyways, that's one thing that makes Africa so expensive. A lot of these countries are dangerous. People always tell me not to go somewhere, and I'm going. If it's a country, I'm going. End of story. Someone told me today not to go to the Congo. They're like, the Congo, they're gonna rip you to shreds and they're gonna eat you with a fork. The Congo is like the worst place on earth. And I'm like, whatever, I'm going. I'm visiting every country in the world, and I'm not stopping because of the Congo. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, I'm going. So, anyways, we're going to every single country. I'm gonna revisit some countries like Uganda because I never saw the gorillas and I need to go back to see the gorillas. Like, I need to see the gorillas. Yeah, so that's just to break everything down, just to break it down, to make it plain. For excursions, you're going to be paying an average of $150 to $300 per excursion. That's what makes Asia so cheap. If you want to go on an excursion in Asia, like let's say Japan or South Korea, it might cost you $40, $50, maybe $30, $40, you know? And that's the average excursion. There's not an excursion in Japan or South Korea or Thailand, for that matter, that's going to cost you more than $50. Like, it's just not. Especially not Thailand. Thailand is so cheap. Thailand is so cheap, baby. Woo! You can get a gorgeous hotel. I mean, gorgeous for like $50 a night. Food is dirt cheap. I'm talking dirt cheap. You might not even spend more than $5 a day on food. Now, of course, you can go to a nice restaurant, you would, whatever. I'm talking about the average. Anyways, Africa is so expensive. It's way more expensive than Europe. I'm talking about traveling it. It's way more expensive. I mean, it is mountains more expensive than Asia. Japan is so much cheaper than any of the countries here, any of them. South Korea is so much cheaper than any of these countries. And again, the reason for that is there is a tourism industry in Africa, and the tourism industry ain't cheap. They make everything expensive because they know you're flying here from a foreign country. And they're like, we're just not going to make things cheap, you know, for no reason. Like, for example, and souvenirs aren't cheap either. When you go into souvenir shops, woo. I asked how much like this African, did you guys see when I went to dinner the other day, they put this like African garb, which is crazy because the dinner was $100, right? So like when we went to this dinner in Zimbabwe, this cultural dinner, but I loved it, by the way. And it was content, so it was still my job, you know. They gave us this African garb to wear at the dinner, and the dinner was $100. So a lot of us thought the garb was included, you know? And so afterward, they're like, people like were trying to leave, and they're like, wait, leave your little, you know, garb African throw thing. And this one girl was like, she was also American. She's like, it's not included. We paid $100. And she's like, no, but you can buy it for $50. Way Zambia, whatever. Depending on how you travel, again, everyone travels differently. But you might be spending upwards of, hold on, let me do some math. If I had to give you like one number about how much you'd be spending, okay, times 7 times 2, that's okay, so a 1 week trip to Africa, I just kind of averaged everything, might cost you around $4,500 total, maybe. Again, I'm giving you an average. That's including an average hotel like this, about $150 to $200 a night. Let's say you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That would be about $60 a day. Let's say you do one excursion every day, like a safari or some kind of tour. That's going to cost you about $200 a person. So this is for one person, but sometimes they do the group tour together. This could be double. All right, this is $4,250. That's what I got for a 1 week trip to Africa. And let's say This goes for Zimbabwe. South Africa is going to be more. South Africa is expensive. Whoa, it's expensive. Yeah. But I'm giving this average for like the southern countries of Africa. Yeah, that's how much you're going to be spending for 1 week for sure. And I'm lowballing it. I'm not putting in any extras. Like I didn't add, if you want to buy souvenirs, there's nice souvenirs here. There's like really cool rugs. If like you're into interior designing, like there's these gorgeous rugs they make here, and like a lot of cool leather bags and all that stuff. But I didn't add souvenirs, and I added food. It might be $60 a day, $20 breakfast, $20 lunch, $20 dinner. Dinner might be more than $20. An excursion a day, let's say that excursion is $200. That's for one person. And then your flight, I don't know where you're coming from, so I didn't add a flight. I just put $500. Blanket both ways. Yeah, $4,500 for 1 week in Africa. I'm just trying to compare and show you guys what these places cost. Let's say you had a $4,500 budget to go to Japan for 1 week. Oh, you could live like a king. That would be, you wouldn't need that much money is what I'm saying for 1 week in Japan. South Korea, you wouldn't need that much money. You might need half. Hello. I do think it's worth it though, 100%. Like I can imagine not traveling Africa. You need to go to Africa before you die. You can't leave the planet without coming here. There's no place like it. The beautiful, raw nature and just being able to look an elephant in the eyes. It's just insane. And the peaceful nature. People are really chill here. There's no hustle and bustle. It's a great place if you love relaxing. That's why so many old people, you see so many old white couples. It's not even, like I said that the other day. I was like, Africa is like the old white couple hub. It's so true. You always see like those old white couples. I'm talking old. You know, old white people, they never stop living, you know? They will have on their hiking gear. They'll be like 75, 80 years old. They'll have their cameras. Like, they're no joke. I love them. They'll have their binoculars. They crack me up. And so there's just tons of them here. I think because obviously, you know, it's beautiful, but also the relaxing nature of Africa. It's not like this hustle and bustle like everywhere else. It's really chill. It's really, really chill. You can get up and go hang out with the elephants and go hang out with the zebras and tigers. I'm sorry. There's no tigers in Africa. Hang out with the lions and have, you know what I'm saying? It's chill. So save up if you want to come to Africa. Save up, especially if you want to see a lot of the animals. You want to go, and that's what I highly, highly recommend. If you come here, go on a game drive maybe every day. You can book a game drive to a different park every day. You can go, like there's so many different game drives when you come here, depending on what time of the day you want to go or what animals you want to see. You can do like a game drive every day. Or here's another option, but this is like super expensive. Like you need a budget, maybe $15,000 to do this, right? But here's another really cool option. Say you have $15,000 to travel to Africa. You could stay in, and I'm going to do this, but not yet. You can stay in the freaking safari. Like there are lodges, and now these lodges are super, super, super nice. And so for example, right now I'm in Zimbabwe, but I'm not staying in the safari. You know, I'm staying in the city center, and then I take excursions to go see the animals in the safaris. There are lodges that exist in safaris where you can literally stay and sleep outside with the animals. Like those are amazing, but they're only booked in clumps. Like you can only book that like for like a 5-day stay or something, you know what I mean? And those are super expensive, but just so beautiful. I would recommend that for South Africa. I would recommend that for even Zambia. You can stay outside, and we're gonna do that soon because content, you know,